welcome to the CrackOn podcast, hosted by me, John Saunders. Crack on! Hey guys, Series 2, Episode 11, Dominic Day, ex-professional rugby player for Bath Scarlets, Saracens, gone to Tokyo, played for the Rebels over in Australia, had a really varied career. But now is in partnership in a business called 4-5. I'll let him discuss what it is. Such a great guy, really crack on attitude. Can't wait to share it. Have a great one. Crack on. Hey, afternoon, Dom. How you doing, bud?
Very good, mate. You well?
Yeah, really well, thanks. Really well. Thanks for taking us up on the option, mate.
No problem at all. Glad to be here.
So you're in nice sunny Dublin today, huh?
Yeah, over in Dublin. Moved here only a week ago. So my wife's in Dublin, so just getting near the family, get some help. Got 2-year-olds, so
nice.
Life in lockdown.
Young kid, and move, all good.
Yeah, it's been good, mate. But we needed all hands on deck. I think lockdown taught us that London's no place to be in a 2-bed apartment with a 2-year-old during lockdown.
Definitely not, mate. Definitely not. And sunny Dublin's the place to be, mate. I think, isn't it?
Yes.
So we'll just get cracking straight into it, right? So we'll get the first 2 questions in, which I ask everyone. So what does crack on mean to you?
Crack on, eh? I think for me, it usually comes, that word would usually come out like when it's just like, right, let's get back to basics and just keep going forward. I think, sometimes it's like the memories for me would be just like, if times are getting a little bit hard, I guess sometimes it's like, right, we've just got to crack on now. I guess if I was to like
dig deep.
Yeah, dig deep, and then I guess in rugby, I think it would probably be used a lot. Like when hard times on the pitch, be all right, let's crack on, let's get it done.
Yeah. You got any examples of that? Like when there's certain times, there has been times where it's been really hard and you've had to just get on and crack on?
Yeah, well, for me, it was probably the worst time of this all the time that most players don't like, which is pre-season.
Yeah.
So like you're out there, you got your fitness sessions to do, which is always as a forward probably the time of year I just hated the most. Getting out there, having to do the running sessions. Is that right? Let's crack on. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
And then it's just in the tank then. And I think once you just go out there, you got to do it. You feel better after it as well. So you just go out, you get it done.
And that pre-season, every player I've ever asked or talked to is always the one, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm glad I don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it. Yeah, absolutely. So have you got anyone, obviously in the business world, we're going to talk about the business world in a bit, but obviously as rugby and business, is there anyone particularly you've looked up to and sort of seen as an idol mentor go in your life?
Yeah, I think, like you say, for me, it's like probably changed like idols and mentors, I guess, as I've gone through life. I think with rugby, like I just remember when I was younger, I just loved John Olomu, loved him. And back when I was like 14, 15, I remember having a VHS of like John Olomu, and every Saturday I had like bang it on for every game.
Yeah.
And I never performed anything like John Olomu, like ever in my whole life.
Honest, I tell you, I've seen some of your games.
Yeah, I never got quite to that standard, but
well, you're as big as him.
Well, I was the same height, but just a quarter of the speed, probably. So he was always someone I looked up, and I guess people like guys like who I grew up watching and was lucky enough to like play against him in my career. Was guys like Victor Matfield.
Yeah,
he's obviously always a slick operator, I think. And then as I kind of got towards the end of my career and started transitioning towards out of sport into business, like there's always people that I would like sort of research and I guess still look up to now, but like people like Shaquille O'Neal and Alex Rodriguez who've like on like a bigger scale, and they obviously made significantly more money than me through their like sports careers, but they've like really establishing themselves outside of sport in business, and that's very much something that I'm trying to do and I want to do.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And that journey, like Michael Jordan, and inadvertently, look at him. He's a multi-billionaire now from those the shoes and the items he's got. But a savvy sort of business head on as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's probably they're probably people I would look up to now. Yeah,
cracking, mate. Oh, they're great. And they started from the beginning then, because I realised that obviously when I interviewed past podcaster Reece Blumberg and now the COO of the Blues, that obviously we went to university in the same university, so you went to UWIC, mate.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk us through the time. Talk us from the beginning where it all started then.
Well, my relationship with Blum was just everything.
No. Let's not go into that, mate. It's too blue. Let's not go into that. Let's go into just where it all started for you, sort of, even if it was before UWIC, mate. But start from the beginning. Where did all the rugby side of it start?
Yeah, so I'm from Pembrokeshire, so West Wales.
Awesome.
Yeah, grew up down there by the sea. Was always into like surfing and just like skateboarding and all that kind of stuff. And then I guess when I sort of started growing head and shoulders above everyone else, one of my school teachers, Neil Truman, he kind of put me forward to county rugby, and then got involved in that, and everything just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah.
Got into like Scarlets Academy, got like my age group caps, started playing for Scarlets. And yeah, it was just like, since I was like 15, I was always part of like a professional setup, and that probably took me through till, and obviously we'll probably go into a bit more like what I did during my career, but like that's like 20 years of my life up until like last year was just like rugby, like just like every day, training, eating, lifting weights, whatever it was, up until like a year ago, and now I find it very hard to motivate myself to get into the gym.
Yeah. So, it's interesting you say that, bud, because I've spoken to, I hope you won't mind me saying it, but Shanks, I've been on a couple of sort of cycles with Shanks, and when he retired, I went on a cycle with him, and that was the biggest thing that he found weird and difficult. He was like, it's a bit like that Shawshank Redemption when he gets his job and he's been told to piss all his life, and then actually got to toilet when he didn't need to. He didn't know what to do, Yeah. He was saying that actually the routine of playing rugby, to come out of that the other end, it then becomes a sort of, it's a difficult transition. How's it been for you?
Yeah, it was. Well, I thought I was like super prepared to retire from rugby. Obviously, I had the business, and that was starting to pick up momentum, and I was always sort of interested in. I thought that I'd kind of prepared really well in terms of investing in properties and stuff like that. But I think in hindsight, and I'm only a year down the road, like I just realised there's so much more I could have done. And no, you're right. Like coming out of, I remember going in. So we got an office in St Albans, 4 or 5 the business.
Yeah.
And 1 week I was like training. I was a rugby player. The next week I was going into the office, and I was like, I went in, and then I texted my missus. I was like, shit, I haven't got any food. Like, I haven't got any lunch. I haven't got anything, because just so used to getting
my food cooked for me. Can I have anything in here?
So used to getting like 3 meals a day, and like everything's sort of laid out, ready for me, and like protein shakes, whatever it is, like for 20 years. And then I was like, shit, I gotta make my own food.
I gotta make my own food. Yeah. I said, but it's the realization of it. I mean, I've noticed from, obviously Scarlets, Bath, and then obviously I looked at then, and you go into Japan. Japan really always interests me, especially from a business point of view. How was Japan when you went out there?
Yeah, Japan was unreal. Like it was one of the best experiences I've ever had, and it was always something I wanted to do. Like since I was at Scarlets, I'd always had it in my head that I wanted to go out there and like just experience something different, really. And it was like, obviously it was like massively different, and it was amazing. And
what were the main differences on that? What were the main? I mean, culturally, it looks. I've got friends who live there. Culturally, it's so different, isn't it?
Yeah. Like just everything. Like everything. I remember we landed. Me and the missus landed, and we went. They put us in a hotel for a couple of nights. We went to go out for food because it was quite late when we got there. But it's just like it hits you like straight away. Like first of all, everyone's like super polite and so nice. It's like one of the safest places to be.
Yeah.
But like you can't read anything. No one can speak English because we were in I was in this city called Nagoya, which is like on the bullet train. It was like an hour and a half in Tokyo, but like otherwise it wasn't like a touristy place. It was like
right. It was in the middle of nowhere. It's like
we went out. Yeah, exactly. We went out trying to get food, and we just like sat there and couldn't read the menu. No one could speak English, so it was just like we just like point at a few things, and I think it was like 20 oysters and a bottle of wine turned up. So romantic night.
I bet they went down well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but but it was amazing. Like, but like it's something that I wish I'd done more time there. But
so you were there for a season, was it? A year, were you?
Yeah, so I was there for 1 year, and then they wanted me to stay on again, but I'd signed something else I'd always wanted to do was play Super Rugby.
Yeah.
So I'd signed with Melbourne Rebels, and
that's right.
Yeah, so they wanted me just to stay in Japan and not kind of play Super Rugby as well. So I was like, it's just something like I've always wanted to do my whole life. So it's not something I'm going to turn down. So
and what was that like? What was that like over there in Australia? And that what are the main changes or differences? Obviously, you've played at a high level in club rugby. I mean, arguably, I'm not going to debate what's the Pro 12 over the 14, but the English league is a really organised and great league, isn't it? What was it like over there, Super Rugby on that level?
Yeah, it was the rugby itself. What kind of struck me was how little first of all, I think money-wise, they're a lot worse off than England and Wales, like the Australian clubs.
Right.
But the players, they got so much talent, and like Australia, they just grow up with like sport. They're always playing sport, cricket, like rugby league, and the players were like super talented, super fit, like great skills. But I think a lot of them were just struggling just to like make ends meet, even though they're professional rugby players. Like on paper,
right?
They'd be struggling to like pay rent or do this or do that. Like you get a couple of players who were like, the big stars, the Australian players who get paid good money. But I think they just need, for Australia, I think obviously the national team does pretty well. I think the club side struggle a little bit. They just need a bit of a cash injection to really. But the other thing is like, I remember getting like sometimes I get an Uber into training, and like Melbourne is like a sports mad city.
Yeah.
Like no one knew who the Melbourne Rebels were, like because it was rugby league, Aussie rules, and it was like they had no idea. I was like, oh yeah, they're like, what to do? I was like, I'll pay for Melbourne Rebels. They're like, oh, what's that rugby league? I was like,
what's that? Yeah, it's Australia, isn't it? It is like the third sport out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or even fourth, maybe Aussie rules as well, isn't it? Aussie rules, cricket, rugby league, then rugby union, fourth sport.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Which is crazy. I mean, what in Melbourne compared to Cardiff? Because obviously we've got some fond memories going out in Cardiff. What's Melbourne like compared to that?
Oh, Melbourne's amazing city.
Yeah, I bet.
If it wasn't so far away, like I'd be somewhere that I'd want to live.
Oh, right, awesome. That's brilliant.
It's just so far removed from everything. It was like, obviously the time difference, it made it difficult because obviously we've got a lot of families over here and stuff. So it kind of made things difficult. But amazing city. But definitely.
I suppose that ticked the box and scratched an itch, and then you came back over and joined the mighty Saracens then.
Yeah. So yeah.
How did that come about then? How did that? Is it a club you've always fancied to have a look at, or how did that all come about?
No, I was actually in Japan, and I got a phone call from Mark McCall, and he was just, they were looking for a second row who had, some experience. So they run like a rotation system at Saracens. So
yeah.
Obviously I knew they had like George Morrow, Will Skelton, some good youngsters coming through. So I was probably at that point. By the time I got to Japan, I was also like starting to pick up like niggles. I didn't have like a lot of injuries as a player, but I was starting to pick up like some niggles, and I was like, this could be like a good place for me to go and sort of, get managed well. I won't be playing every game, but I'll get some starts. I'll get some appearances off the bench and get some rest as well. So it just seemed like a good fit for me, and it was definitely the right decision to go there, because it was just like an unbelievable experience.
No, I bet. And I think obviously I said to you that obviously a lot of politics over the last few years within that, but the club itself comes across to me like a very professional outfit, in the nicest way. That's why you won so many European Cups, is because the elite of the elite, in my opinion. I can say that because I'm unbiased, but I bet that culture was an amazing one to be part of.
Yeah, it was. I think one thing that struck me as soon as I went in is just how everyone just gets treated exactly the same. Like it doesn't matter if you're. I think coming through like at Scarlets, and maybe Bath as well to a degree. There's always a divide between like academy, senior players. If the starting team, the guys in the bench, there's always a divide. But at Saracens, it was like everyone is like on the same level. It doesn't matter if you're like Owen Farrell or like a first year academy member. Like everyone gets treated the same. Everyone gets to voice their opinion exactly the same, and it's given like the exact same like respect, no matter who's saying it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of infamous, isn't it, how Saracens do some of their bonding? Like they go away on trips, like the old school, like let's get some beers and like open up to each other, and it's exactly what it is. Yeah, and they do it so well. So I'd literally been there a week, because I arrived a bit late because I was at Melbourne, and Sanjay was on the Lions tour, so he arrived a bit late as well.
Right.
So we got there at the same time, and within a week we were in Bermuda on a pre-season trip. So like we just landed there, me and Sandra like, what's going on here? Like we just signed this club, and then a week later we're in Bermuda. Like in the nicest way and with respect, with the Scarlets, you'd have got the Barry Island, mate, wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Unreal, but like we were there, and then we had one game at the end of the week against like some American team, but I remember it was like a Wednesday, and we were on this boat trip, and we were going over to this island to have a barbecue, and like it was like two days out from a game, and like the coaches were like on the boat just like chucking beers out to everyone. I was like, is this a trick? I was like, what's going on here? And they tested.
We get it tested later.
Yeah. So anyway, like we went out, and I was just like, I'm all in here. I was like,
I can sign my life away here.
Yeah. So we were just like straight on the beers. Like the coaches are the guys who like drive it all, and they're as open with the players as the players are with them. So I think the relationships with players and the coaches and everything is something I've never seen at another club.
Yeah, and playing with those sort of caliber of players, I mean, he gets a lot of stick. Then he, they all get a lot of stick. To be honest, I find it quite hard. I think that's quite the microscope of rugby. But there's some awesome individual, and the talent there is like Farrell, and I love Jamie Joe. I think he's great. He's a character, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, no, they're all good guys. And listen, I think such is sometimes the makeup of a lot of people. You always want to knock down the people who are on top and the people who have been most successful. And that's how it is. And I know it's quite difficult to I think to win as much as they have. And not you're always going to come in for criticism from anyone. Like you do the smallest thing wrong, or you do anything wrong, and then it just gets amplified so much just because like you're successful and people are jealous and they want to kind of knock you off your perch. But
surely I told you for Lions, yeah, gotta be in it. It's shooing for it's gotta be the number 4, isn't he?
Yeah, you would have thought so, yeah.
Yeah. I hope so, mate. I hope so. He deserves it. He's one of those players I wouldn't, if I was in your position, want to play against him. He's a hell of a player, you know. So let's talk a bit more about Saracens itself. Obviously renowned for then taking that business approach, right? So a lot of the players that you work play with, and that's naturally where you have gone as well within the business world. Talk a bit more about what's Nigel Ray. I've heard a lot about Nigel Ray's influence on that, and the way he wants players to carry on. I mean, I don't see any problem with that. I think it's the way every player should have it. What was it like? Well, what was Nigel like, and how was that transition gone?
Yeah, he. I mean, so I'll tell you the first time I heard from Nigel, I actually didn't know who he was, and I was in Melbourne, and like a load of flowers turned up and a handwritten note, and it was from like Nigel Ray.
Nice.
To my missus, like it wasn't even to me. Yeah, so it was like,
I bet you were Nadia, like, sending my missus flowers. Who's this Nigel?
Who's Nigel?
Yeah. I'm coming for you, mate.
So he was like we're so excited to have you here. If there's anything you need at all, just let me know. And I think that for me that speaks volumes of the kind of bloke that he is. And listen, like everyone knows what happened at Saracens. They got penalised, they got relegated. But one thing I know about Nigel is he would do everything out of the goodness of his heart, and he generally has the players' kind of best interests whenever he does anything like that. And he supported a lot of guys to help them with their transition out of rugby. And it's like, I think outside of Nigel as well, they got a good system in place at Saracens to kind of support the players to help them transition out of sport. And it's something that like George and I are passionate about. I guess I've just gone through it, and George has seen, so he's kind of head of the RPA, so the Players Association.
He's massive, isn't he? I know you're big, right? You're big, but he looks massive to me. I mean, I never stood next to him, but he's a massive guy. He's got your stature, isn't he? You know what I mean? Like I said, you two together. I definitely wouldn't want to meet you down Chippy Alley on a Friday night. Let me tell you. So you guys then. So talking about that transition into business and what I'm really interested with the listeners is the learning. You said you've been in for a year and there's been loads of learnings and be really interested to share those. But maybe talk more about the 4-5 you've got yourself into. I know it's going really well, mate. So congratulations with that.
Yeah. So obviously we've launched 4-5, which.
So the guys, what is it? What is it? So the guys know what it is.
Yeah. So we started with CBD. So CBD is essentially cannabis oil.
Yeah.
It's a legal part of the plant that it's from the hemp plant, and just has really kind of amazing medicinal benefits. Research has just shown that it can massively help with things such as sort of pain relief, inflammation, anxiety, sleep is one of the biggest ones. And when George and I were actually injured at the same time in 2018, and it had just been taken off the banned substance list in sport, so athletes were allowed to use it.
Yeah.
So we started using it and like had really great benefits, and we kind of went out and we kind of looked at the market. And we were like, I think there's an opportunity here for like a safe product that is like tested and that like athletes can use, and then everyone can buy into it because it'll be like really high spec. So we started 4-5 and the first 2 years it was just like really amazing, and we've built up like our sales, and we've gone into Boots pharmacies, and we've got some big listings coming up this year. But yeah, like you said, the learnings, we've been lucky enough to have some really like amazing mentors that
Are you able to say who they are, mate? Or no problem if not. But, do you know?
Yeah. Like you may not. I mean, you may not know them, but there's a guy called Simon Scott who he actually works at England Rugby, and he coaches like some CEOs of like major national big companies use him to kind of coach them. So he'll come in and he basically offers like he's also almost like a mediator.
Yeah.
But
and was that through, just out of interest, is that then put through with Saracens? Saracens would put you in touch with that person, or was there any advice on that?
So George knows him through England.
Right. Okay. Awesome.
England Rugby. Yeah. So that's how that one worked out. I've just managed to sneak in there. Even
yeah. You just snuck behind him.
Yeah. But he's been amazing. And one guy that Saracens puts in touch with is a guy called Peter Harvey, who is the ex-head of Barclays Banks. And he, these guys just give up their time because they want to help us. And he just offered so much advice, and he still offers us advice today. Like he's always at the end of the phone. But like those kind of things, like those relationships, I think enabled us to sort of dodge a few kind of things that would have probably been slowed us up, or been quite harmful to the business. And through like their advice and then pointing us in the right direction, we've managed to kind of to keep things kind of streamlined and always moving forwards and like growing things in the right way. Something that I anyway had no idea like what I was doing starting a business.
Yeah.
So it's been like fast learnings.
But I suppose the last year you said there has been some major learnings. Obviously you took it to market yourself, didn't you? You've taken it to market. It's in high street brand, it's in high street wholesalers. So that's a massive achievement in itself.
Yeah. And listen, major learnings. For me, I guess on the business side, major learnings that stuff like selecting a good marketing company, or first of all, like what marketing is for me is like
going back to the basics even.
Yeah, straight down to the basics. And I just thought marketing is right. Let's stick a poster up here with our brand on it. But like when you delve into like the almost the science of like marketing, and we wasted so much money in the first couple of years of marketing, like so much money, and it's so easy to do, but it's also easy to like get right, and that's the kind of stuff that we want to like help people with, because now we've got this network of like people who can almost like a little black book of numbers, and we want to help players like if they do have the drive to kind of prepare for like post sport. We want to like just basically open it up to them and be like, listen, you support us, we'll support you, and like let's see what we can get to.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing, mate. I think there's a lot of, unfortunately, historically in rugby, you either become a pundit, which is like one chance in a million, or you go and be a coach. But actually, the reality check is that the business world needs people like yourself. I mean, obviously, I'm linked in with Brad Barrett. Is Tiki Tonga coffee. I mean, that's looks a great brand, but it's things like that there needs to be a platform for players to move on to, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. And seeing it a lot more now. And I think companies, not companies like bodies like the RPA and the WRPA, who look after the players. I think that work's starting to come through. I think it's starting to come good. I still think there's so much more to do. But I think the difficult part that they've got is, because I was that person not long ago, is like players buying into it. Like they can offer the players everything.
Yeah.
But it's just them grabbing it and being like and doing it. But I think it's a lot more powerful.
So how is that? What, in your opinion, what is that step then? Again, the players engaged. I know having you and George involved is obviously going to get them start thinking about it, because you're more relative. You only finished last year. Then how do you think, what needs to happen within the system for that to be the case?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. And I think all this is amplified by COVID as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that is definitely having an effect on players, because salaries are getting either reduced or like cut completely. And I think that's probably scaring a lot of players to start doing this stuff. But in terms of how we do it, like I think there has to be a certain amount of shock factor. Like I think it's good to have people like George and myself to be able to like try and push people, because we have been there and done it, and I think that's important that players can see. And otherwise, I think it's just, I don't think there's any right answer, mate. I think some people got the want and the need to do it. I think it's just about first of all picking those people off and helping them, and hopefully that good example will rub off on others.
Yeah, what about yours then? What was your moment then? You said that you saw a bit of an opportunity. What was your kick? Was it retirement based? Was it something like, what am I going to do now? Or what was your kick to get involved in something on your own?
I think like there was a certain point where I was just like, I think I'm very much of the mindset of just like, I just like to say yes and just do stuff. And if something scares me, then in my experience, that's where I've like seen the biggest, like the best returns, and and it's like given me the most like fulfillment, I guess, in my life.
Yeah,
things like going to Japan and like going abroad, or like even going to Bath. And I was just like, I'd always been as well interested in the cannabis space. Just like how much that was growing in America, and I was like right, like I'm never gonna know unless I give it a go. So I was let's do it.
Well, the words crack on, isn't it? It's exactly that moment, isn't it?
Let's crack on and get on with
it.
Yeah,
good mate, good. Yeah, look, I've got and then just a personal one before we go into the final three questions. But what where's the club that, do you ever think about coming back to Wales, or was there ever a moment you thought going back to Wales to finish your career?
I think so. I had actually signed 2 years in San Diego,
right?
So so I didn't have to retire. Like I had another 2-year contract, and I also was talking to a couple of Welsh regions about maybe going back and doing like another year back in Wales. But I think for me it was at some point you've got to like just nip it in the bud, and just like the business was picking up. We'd been trading for a year. That was getting serious. It needed me full time. Although it was like terribly sad to retire. It was just a decision that everyone has to make at some point. So that was the right time for me. But like in terms of going back to Wales, I had a few opportunities to go back since I left. Every time my contract came up, there was interest in going back. But and this is nothing against the Welsh regions, but like I just always enjoyed myself more elsewhere, I guess. And I
don't think there's, personally, mate, there's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, but do you miss rugby?
No, I haven't yet. I've been too busy.
Yeah. Really interesting question, that one, isn't it? It's a really interesting question. I bet if you ask every retired, when you've been really lucky, the career you've had has been amazing, and you've got to the point where you could get to that point of retirement without there being a major injury, isn't it? And I bet a lot of people are in the same, but when you ask them, that retired player, do I miss it? That is the exact answer. I don't really at the moment, because you've got to, your body goes through a lot, mate, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I was the last couple of years I was like struggling bad, like my knees were in bits.
Were they?
And I like now, I feel the effects now, like even more. But it's just something you got to live with. Like, I wouldn't change anything. Change anything.
That's what I was going to ask that question, but we got 3 questions to end. That isn't one of them. But would you change anything that you've done so far?
No, I don't. No, I don't think so.
And what's just on a business level then? What's the next stages for 4 or 5 then? What's the the next step for that? Is it, what's the next few years look like for that?
Yeah, so we just raised £500,000, and we're going to be pushing more now. We're going to be pushing to more retailers. We're looking at international expansion. We've just signed a deal with a big pharmacy chain in South Africa, and possibly moving into some other territories as well. So growth, mate. Growth is what it's all about in business, eh?
Yeah.
Apparently.
That's what we used to say.
So I've heard over the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's what we used to say about our chest size, mate, didn't we? It's all about the growth. Let's bang a plate on or two, innit? All right, yeah. So look, let's go into the last 3 questions, mate. I've been fascinated so far. So I nicked this from the podcast. I don't know whether you've seen the High Performance podcast, but I nicked these 3 from there. I enjoy that. So 3 non-negotiables to sort of work or be in Dom's world. What are 3 non-negotiables?
And again, you might have nicked this, but I probably nicked these from Saracens towards the end. But they're definitely things that have transferred for me easily into from rugby into business. And I think first thing is that honesty. I think one thing that people in the business world find with us is that we're super honest. And like down to stuff that can be like, we've gone into like some big business meetings, right, with very successful, wealthy people.
Yeah.
And we've literally just been as honest as, guys, we don't know what we're talking about. And it's almost like disarming to a lot of people, but like it just gives that when you're honest to people about that. And like honest, and that's just one example. There can be a lot of examples in that, but I think honesty is just so key because, like, if you're honest to people, you just get a lot more respect back from them.
Yeah, totally agree. So honesty.
And then obviously, like the key thing that just underpins everything is like the hard work. I think Saracens, although they had a lot of fun, they were probably the most hardworking team like on the pitch, and it was their ability to kind of flick the switch when you get into that environment. So like, when you get in the training pitch or when you get on the pitch, just flick the switch and then it's like hard work time. You just get it done.
Game time. What about the third one?
Probably just like you have to enjoy what you're doing, right? So like, otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, no, I didn't want to say it, but Blumberg did mention that you've had some good times over the years, and I bet that I know we haven't mentioned going back to where you lived with him, didn't you? You were a housemate.
Yeah, we lived together at uni for a couple of years. Yeah,
but that was a fun time, mate. But that was a fun time.
Yeah.
Again, that's probably for a later podcast. Yeah, probably for a later one. Oh yeah, biggest life lesson so far, then, Bob.
I think I touched on it earlier, but I think for me it was just, like I said, when I just started saying yes to stuff, that's like, as it's so easy if you're a bit scared by something, any big life decision, just to like not do it or shy away from it. But as soon as I started saying yes, and for me it started when I went to Bath. I just said, I'm going to go sign for Bath, and then that's such a great experience there, and then just kind of snowballed. I was like, I'll go to Japan, I'll go to Australia, I'll go to Saracens, I'll start a business. And like when I started like tackling those big decisions head on and just like saying yes, I think that's when I started to kind of yield like the real results in my life anyway.
I tell you what, I love that. I really do. Sometimes it takes you to the end to get that nugget. That is the nugget for me. Saying yes to more things than you say no. Take the opportunities when they're there, mate. I've moved around the country, not internationally, but I think what you've done with that is amazing. I find that's a brilliant bit of advice.
Thanks.
The last one then, final one. If you were to go back and have a chat with a young Dominic Day, so when he was 18, let's say you go back, what advice would you give him?
So this kind of ties into the Bath. So when I was at Bath, I worked with a guy called Don McPherson.
Right.
And he's like a mind coach. He has a very like Buddhist outlook on life, and I love that. Like I love it. And
awesome.
It would be he would always say to me, obviously in the era of mobile phones and technology, he was like, live more in like the moment, and like don't worry about what's happened in the past, don't stress about what's happening in the future, just like live in the moment. I think once that's 90% of it, right? Because otherwise everything's just in your head, like you're just overthinking everything rather than just living like right now, like I don't know, this podcast, or I was in Bath at the time and I'd go out and I'd just look at the bill, like when you lift, because he said something interesting to me. He was like, if you just lift your head like an extra like 2 inches, like your perspective on life changes completely, because we're so used to like being like this, and then you put your phone away and you just like look at like what's happening. I love that. And it's just like live in the moment. I think it's probably what I tell myself. Listen, I'm probably telling myself something I need to learn a bit more now, because I definitely am on my phone too much. But it's a life lesson that I need even now.
We're definitely all guilty of that, mate. We're definitely all guilty of that. Yeah. No, that's awesome, mate. I've got to be honest. Thank you ever so much for taking the time out, and I really appreciate it. And like I said, for definite, going out your business world, whatever you do in the future, I wish you all the best, and I know that you'll be a success in it. So well done and good luck.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. And just crack on.
Crack on, buddy.
Yeah. Nice one, mate. Cheers, Dom.
Cheers, John. Cheers, mate.
There we go. That's it. I really got a lot from Dominic Day. He's come from the rugby world into a business world, understands the challenges of what that's all about, and being quite realistic with regards to how much help there is out there. Saracens, been through the mill, been in the media for so many different negative things, but actually the biggest positive that they do within that club is develop their business sense outside. And I think that's invaluable. And I think there's some of the lessons he talked about were brilliant. And I'd just like to say, amazing. Thank you ever so much. And next edition, we're ending the series with Russell Slade, the ex-Cardiff City's coach. Such a great podcast. I love just having an hour with him. So I hope you do too. Have a great day and crack on. Crack on.